This past week, we have all seen and suffered the consequences of a cyber attack. The group Darkseid is taking credit for the closure of US based Colonial Pipeline. I'm Beth Motter here with ZDNet's Danny Palmer. Danny, this is an ongoing investigation. This has just happened. We're learning more and more every day. Can you go ahead and break down for us what we do know?
Well, what we do know is the cyber attack against the Colonial Pipeline happened last Friday, and one of the reasons it's become such a major news story is because this pipeline fuels, almost half of the fuel supplies of the American East Coast. So it's basically an attack on infrastructure, really, and it's caused the pipeline to shut down, which, when it is the main route for almost half of gasoline getting across the entirety of the eastern US, it's caused major issues because we see lots of ransomware attacks over the course of last year, and they encrypting networks and stopping these companies accessing their files. The problem with the attack against the Colonial Pipeline is it has very much had effects on, for want of a better term, the real world, because gas supplies have been reduced. And as you've seen in the US, this has caused some strong demand for the limited supplies, of people stockpiling what's there. So it's one of these instances which shows you that we use the phrase cyber attack, but it's very much had consequences on the real world. And as I'm talking to you now, these consequences are still ongoing.
Yeah, and you mentioned we're seeing that over here in the U.S. where I'm based. I need gas for my vehicle, and I tried to go to a gas station yesterday before we filmed this, and the line was outrageous. People are panic buying, and you and I talked briefly before we started filming, Danny. It's just like the COVID-19 pandemic when people started stockpiling toilet paper. People are going crazy over this, and ransomware attacks happen all the time, but it finally feels like the cyber threat is it's in our face. We know it's happening.
It's because it's got consequences in the real world, and we saw that to an extent in the UK a few years ago with the WannaCry ransomware attack, which shut down hospitals here and brought the cyber attacks into the physical space. And it's gone to the very top over there in the US, where US President Joe Biden has been briefed on this situation, and the White House is looking into it. He signed an emergency order about securing government agencies, saying government agencies will need to make sure they have things like multi-factor authentication applied to across their networks, and that data is encrypted, so this sort of thing can't happen. Because the pipeline investigation is still ongoing, we don't know how the attack infiltrated the network, but a lot of people are suggesting that this is possibly because of the usual common attack vectors that people talk about, things like unsecured networks, because in these massive networks it can get difficult to figure out what's going on. And the likelihood is that the attackers here, Darkseid ransomware, which goes on and as a service model. So the people who created this ransomware aren't necessarily behind this attack. Someone has bought their services and used it, and it's potentially likely they've just found a vulnerable network and gone, okay, I can make some money here, and encrypted it, only to find that this network is essentially critical infrastructure in the US, and is the whole eyes of so many different authorities on them right now. It even led to the point where the creators of Darkseid ransomware issued a statement on this, which is a really weird thing in this space, basically saying that all we want to do is make money. We're not trying to cause problems for society. They try to pass themselves off as some sort of Robin Hood-esque type organization, because they try to give some of their proceedings to charity, but charity never accepts it, because they're making this money through crime and extortion. But the reason this is successful for them is because in many cases this is working, because it's another one of those ransomware groups where they will not only encrypt your files but threaten to leak data if you don't pay. And the situation in the US, as it has been reports coming through today, the day we're recording this, that the Colonial has actually paid almost $5 million in Bitcoin to retrieve the network. So in this case, the attackers have got what they wanted, I suppose. They've got $5 million in Bitcoin, which is, I don't need to tell you that is a lot of money. And but a lot of authorities and cybersecurity professionals say never pay the ransom because it just encourages organizations to pay. Here in the UK, just this week, we had Home Secretary Priti Patel say that the government will never support paying ransoms. But in the US, the administration said that was a matter for the private company, which Colonial is, to determine. And it seems they've weighed up the pros and cons of this and paid the ransom. But I suppose, which just shows to show that this works. So other ransomware groups are probably looking at this now, going, "Oh, hey, they made $5 million from this. What can I infect and make that sort of money from?" Because one of the big issues of ransomware as well is, because it's paid in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, it's hard to track these attackers down. I mean, a lot of the evidence suggests that many of these ransomware groups are originating from Russia and other former Soviet states. So they don't really have any threat of being tracked down, especially when they're using anonymous cryptocurrency. So it's unfortunately an easy payday for cyber criminals, and this might just embolden other groups to go, okay, well, what else can we hit? Because we've seen how this is successful. This made 5 million here, but we've also seen plenty of attacks on other organizations and things like hospitals and all sorts of infrastructure, which is critical to how the world and countries operate. And if they're held to ransom, unfortunately, this case seems to show that organizations are going to pay, which is something that is not taken very well by many in the cybersecurity community.
Yeah, and like you said, we as groups see that more and more are paying ransom, and this is, we'll quote unquote say it's kind of an easy payday for these groups. It's more and more likely that we're going to continue seeing these cyber attacks, these ransomware attacks. So this is a really good note as you drive by and you see people panic buying gases over here in the US, or if you're just reading about this elsewhere in the world, turn on that multi-factor authentication, go change your password, don't use the same password over and over. Things you've said for months and months, years and years, go ahead and do it. We're seeing those consequences now, and it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. So Danny Palmer, as you said, this is an ongoing investigation. We'll be sure to keep you updated on all things Colonial Pipeline. For all things tech, security, ransomware, be sure to stick with ZDNet. We'll have everything up about this ongoing investigation. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and stick with us to figure out more about the Colonial Pipeline. Thanks for watching.